Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome to the Art of Badassery. My guest today is not only a returning badass on the podcast, but she's also a dear friend who's walked this wild entrepreneurial path with me. Debra White is a grief astrologer who doesn't see grief as something to fix, but as a sacred teacher. Her work uses astrology as a soul mirror, helping you walk beside your grief and remember that you were made for this kind of alchemy. Deb, welcome back.
Hi, hello. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, listen, speaking of processes, would you say that grief has been a process for you?
Oh, 100%. Grief is a process, but I wouldn't just say it's for me. I'd say grief is a normal and natural emotion that humans have, and it is meant to be a process.
You know, when you say grief, the first thing that comes to my mind is get over it.
Get over it.
Grief is, I feel like I've been trained, I've been told that I need to just suck it up, buttercup. Yes, bad things happen and cry a little bit and then please move on. What time are you going to be at work tomorrow?
Yes, that's right. I mean, that's so true, but that's how the human brain works. The human brain is wired to fix things, it's wired to protect you, it's wired to do so many different things. And when we feel deep emotion, when it's joy, it's like it's a reward for something that we've done well. Or when we feel full or we feel satiated, it's beautiful, wonderful emotions. But when it's grief or sorrow or sadness, there is a rush to fix what is really just a message for you. There is a message for you. Grief is that there is a disconnection. Something or someone was lost that matters deeply to you. And so to rush in too quickly to fix that feeling ends up tampering down, and then the grief layers on. So, of course, you feel sorrow. Of course, you feel terrible. Of course, you feel pain and suffering. Sitting with that is actually more healing, inviting grief to come alongside you and walk with you, because it will show you how you will heal. The other misnomer around grief is this whole idea that we have superpowers in our own minds, right? That there is this grief often comes with other deep emotions. It's layered, like what comes in as well as guilt. Like, if only I could have, if only I didn't, I should have. And the truth is, that's where the suffering comes from. I never got to say goodbye. I never got to tell them. I never got to, fill in the blanks of whatever it is. And grief isn't just death, obviously. Grief is, a loss of safety, a loss of identity, a loss of role, a loss of a career, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a pet. So that, we lose many, many times in our lives. And in our own minds, only we have the power to have prevented whatever it was that happened. If only I was a better wife, if only I was a better daughter. Yeah.
So interesting that you say that, because judgment comes up a lot in the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was thinking just today, what are some of my own successes? And I realized that my willingness to let go of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
not just one of my successes on my personal journey of growth. But it's so interesting. Now, full disclosure, I've been very fortunate. I haven't experienced a depth of grief yet. I've lost my parents, and while I mourn them, it lived a full life, and I loved there wasn't, I don't think anyway that I've experienced any real depth of grieving them, which I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent, but I feel that like it all went well. So I haven't experienced the depth of grief that many of my friends have, that you have, or that, a lot of my clients have. So I don't really understand it quite as much as perhaps someone else does. So I would love it if you could share with me and of course our listeners some of the biggest things that you've learned about yourself through your journey of grief. What did that look like? What happened?
Oh my gosh. Well, I believe truthfully that, well, grief is a disconnection. So what makes us feel whole is connection and being of service. And so grief is a rendering. It's a disconnection from feeling safe, from feeling whole, from feeling, and for most of us, we can remember, the first time where we realized the world wasn't safe. And usually that's, when we were little, like 3 or 4 years old. And from there, grief layers. And so for me, I have experienced so many different layers. There has been a loss of safety in my teen years when I was sexually assaulted. And there was a loss of family. So through that sexual assault, I lost my family. And so there was a disconnection from that. And then, my husband died. I've had a few cancer journeys. And that taught me also, that there was, okay, let's just move back. What losing my husband taught me, people say that things happen for a reason. And so I don't believe that my husband died so I could find spiritual enlightenment. But what happened was when my husband died, I found spiritual enlightenment. That's the difference for me. It's not the grief isn't the cause, but what causes the grief is really a roadway to show you how you can serve and where you can connect and help others. And since my husband has died, there has been other losses, Alzheimer's and estrangements from other family members. And in those losses, I have found my true calling because grief in of a sense is a road and you can recognize fellow travelers on that road. And so some people are further ahead and some people are further behind. But when I meet someone who is in deep pain or has experienced deep pain, it is this soul recognition of, oh, hello, fellow traveler. And both ways you reach out a hand, right? You reach out a hand to the one in front of you. It's like, hey, tell me a little bit about your journey so I may find some peace. Or you see someone who's a little bit further along and you reach out your hand to them and say, come, I'm showing you that there is healing through this. Yeah.
I just want to take a deep breath and say, I'm so glad that you've made it to this point. Like I said in the intro, Deb and I have been friends for, I don't know, 15 years. So we've been holding each other's hand as we sort of navigate our lives. I'm especially touched though by this understanding that grief layers. And yes, for our listeners, most of us can recognize major grief, like, oh, there's been a trauma or a drama or an accident or shocking has happened. And I would even say just grief for the empathy for the world. Right now, the world is going through a tricky time, right?
Collective grief for sure.
But for the individual, how do you recognize when, because it can mask, it seems like it can mask itself because of so many different ways of feeling grief. How do you always recognize that you're in it? Did I ask that correctly? Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, how do you recognize when you're in joy? How do you recognize when you're in any feeling? It is the sitting with it. It is getting curious about your own self and asking the questions and naming it appropriately. What am I feeling right now? Because grief is kind of like this umbrella because there are so many types of grief, just as there's so many types of happiness, just as there's so many types of sadness and sorrow. And so it really begins with appropriately naming it. Right, Marlene?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right? So when you say a name incorrectly, it lands inappropriately. So it is really coming alongside your feelings and asking, what am I feeling right now?
Yeah, I think the reason I ask, and sorry to interrupt, I think the reason I ask is I can picture, and I've certainly done this myself, And I'm very good at asking questions. It's what I do for a living. And I love being curious, but I can see times when I've gone, okay, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling, frustration. And I leave it there. And I leave this frustration without going, understanding where that frustration is, that frustration comes from something perhaps way deeper that, as you say, point out is under the umbrella of,
It's easy because the answer seems obvious. I'm frustrated because you didn't, I didn't get or this person is not here, or this didn't happen. The challenge with that is that it's projection, right? You're frustrated because of something outside of yourself. You're frustrated because somebody or someone or something isn't where you need them to be and you lost. And so that's the frustration. The actual inquiry is really about what it is that you are needing in this moment. And again, the answer might seem obvious because it's outside of yourself, but it's the I am feeling frustration because I'm feeling a sense of loneliness or isolation or pain, or I'm feeling unheard. I'm feeling, not because of, I think of it in terms I love analogies, so I apologize, right? But it's like blaming gravity for the hole in your pants, you know? I fell down, I scraped my knee, and that darn old gravity, it's the cause of my pain. And so the pain isn't external, the pain is internal. So it really comes down to being curious and trying to make a connection to the purpose inside of you. What it is, the loss of connection, always, always it's a loss of connection. And the healing is to make yourself of service in some way through that feeling.
okay, beautiful description. Thank you so much. I want to go back to something you said about the pain and the pain of and the punishment that we often inflict on ourselves. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because to your point, I feel that a lot of us have learned to navigate pain and punishment in a way that actually doesn't serve us.
Oh my gosh, I love this question so much because we are human, we make mistakes, and stuff does happen. And so the appropriate response to a mistake is correction, not punishment. Let me just say that again. The appropriate response to a mistake is correction, not punishment. So I think of, my children when they were little, and when they made a mistake, I did not put them in an oven or in a room forever, right? There is a correction, there is natural consequences, and then we move on. I still love them. They're still beautiful. They still are deserving and whole and complete. So where we go wrong in ourselves is when we make a mistake, which we all do, we punish ourselves instead of correcting ourselves. If you forget to brush your teeth, you don't give up and say, "Oh my gosh, you're a terrible person. You'll never brush your teeth." But we put these rules on ourselves and punish ourselves for our mistakes instead of just correcting them.
And therein lies the challenge. And I mean, it's why you and I do the work that we do is to help people navigate their pain slash mistakes slash misunderstandings. I, as many of you know, I work predominantly with women, helping them to recognize different parts of themselves. So,
Mm.
Deb, and we are going to get to the work that you do today as a grief astrologer because it's fascinating. But before we do that, one of the things that comes up a lot, and full disclosure, peeps, she has helped me with my inner critic a lot, right? She knows me very well. But Deb, talk to us about how your inner critic has played into the role that you have taken on for yourself today.
Oh my gosh, the inner critic, she is alive and well. My name is Debra. My inner critic is Little Debbie, right? Little Debbie um, tells me that I don't know enough, tells me that I don't have enough experience, tells me that who am I to think that I can be in this world doing this work, you know? And full disclosure to you, right, astrology, specifically astrology, is very polarizing. Everybody has an opinion around it. And so I was listening to the opinions of people, of those, hearing and thinking, who am I to call myself an astrologer. And the inner critic really was, well, I'm Debra White. Of course I can be, right? It's the inner critic for me comes from a sense of lack. It's listening to every person who has questioned what it is that I do and who I am, and approaching those questions with love, because that's the answer. Truthfully, that's the answer to everything. So everyone who's ever questioned me or judged me has come to me from a place of wanting to keep me safe. And those are the people that landed because I didn't feel safe in my own self. And when we feel safe in our own self, when someone says, oh, don't run, walk, be like, I'm good, I got this. I've been practicing this for years. So the answer to the inner critic is love, but it's also the mirror. Who's talking? It isn't them. It isn't those people. It's me. And they just hit the mark, right?
What's your relationship with her today like?
Oh, I love her.
Okay, you do.
I do love her because her job, little Debbie's job, is to keep me safe. She worries because I have fallen, I have made mistakes. So she's just, hey, Deb, be careful. Don't run. Like, I got this. I've been practicing running. I'm good. I listen to her and I'm grateful for her and I thank her. I love her. She's amazing.
Thank you for sharing that. For many of my listeners and my clients, they, and I will count myself as this as well. I didn't want to have anything to do with her. I just wanted her to shut the hell up. Don't,
Yeah.
that's me. Fuck off. And a very dear and wise friend said, how would it be if you actually just listened to her? But so it's great that you got here. And
Yeah.
but I'm curious, is she less talkative now to you now that you're finding your place and you're,
Gosh, no. There's such a big world out there. So many things to be worried about.
oh, that's funny.
Gosh, no. Um, and there's many things that I am still worried about. And that's the beauty of life, right? That's the beauty of life. There will be mistakes in my future. And little Debbie is going to be there to help me stay safe. She is.
That's so beautiful. Okay, you've mentioned astrology. I introduced you as a grief astrologer. What the hell?
Everybody has an opinion about it, but I also say, okay, so for me, astrology, I will tell you what astrology is. Astrology is a mirror. I use astrology very much like my inner critic. Astrology for me is a way for me to fall in love with myself.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's awesome. How the hell does that happen?
How the hell does that happen? Because you are not a mistake. I'm not a mistake. I was born with traits, personality traits, emotional tides. I was born with all of my ways of doing things. I was born into relationships, and none of them have been a mistake. So when I look at a natal chart, what I look at is perfection. Oh my gosh. I believe in my soul that every soul is here to heal and make connections with the world. It's collective healing. And your birth chart is an actual perfect model of how you're going to do that. So you're not a mistake. So what often people say, I'll just full disclosure, I have a Leo sun, I have a Leo moon, so a lot of people would call that you're a double Leo, and I have a Pisces rising. For those of you who are astrologers who are listening to this, so Sun and Moon in Leo, and a Pisces rising. So Leos have a bad rap, but I will tell you every astrology sign has a bad rap because Leos are creative, they're playful, they are childlike in many, many ways. They don't mind the stage. So Leo's the shadow side of a Leo is like, oh my gosh, there she is performing again. Oh my gosh, we can never shut her up. Oh my gosh, you're too big for this room. Your personality is too big for this room. And yet, I see Leos as role models, right? Role models for how to stand up, for how to shine, for how to be joyful. The world needs that. So, and I'm just speaking of Leos because I have a Leo sun. And you'll also notice that I don't say I am Leo because I'm not. I consider signs as verbs. I'm Leoing right now. So cool. So for me, astrology, to get back to your question, when I look at a chart, I think, oh, that's what you're here for. So excited for you. This is perfect for what you're here to do and how you're here to heal and serve. Also, in a chart, you see pain, you see challenges. Guess what? That's how you are going to serve through this channel, through this pain, is how you can bring wisdom and collective healing. So when I look at a chart, it's not just to find the joy, it's to help you fall in love with the journey that you are on and to not hide yourself, but to bring that which is you forward in service to the world.
Okay, I love that description. I have always looked at astrology as entertainment
Mm-hmm.
until fairly recently in my world. It was just something fun to do. And I would always say, I'm Sagittarius. And people would be, of course you are. You're so vivacious and you love to travel and you're whatever, all of those things that quote Sagittarius as traits of Sagittarius is. But what I'm curious about, well, there's lots of things that I'm curious about, but I'm particularly curious about how you found astrology to help you navigate your own grief. Like, what's the connection there?
The connection is the rear view mirror. That's the connection. Astrology for me, I mean, is most helpful when I look in hindsight. So right now, Mercury's in retrograde. I don't know when you're listening to this, but right now, Mercury's in retrograde. And a lot of people are blaming Mercury in retrograde for all of the electronic snafus that are happening. I see astrology in that way, right? Like, oh, my computer is not going to boot up because Mercury's in retrograde. It is more, Mercury is in retrograde. My computer didn't boot up. Do you see the difference in that? Where it's not projection, it's not, oh, the energy of the world in this moment is causing me to do this. It's more of the energy, oh, okay. So when I look at astrology and how it helps move through, it is the rear view mirror because lessons are only learned. You have to feel the pain to learn the lesson, right? Lessons are only learned in hindsight most of the time, right? That's how humans learn. So,
At least once you learn it. Hopefully, you learn it the one time and then it doesn't
I mean, no, we're not going to learn it the one time.
go on.
We're not going to learn it the one time. But when I see, like, to use some okay, so I have a dear friend who has an Aries moon, so moons are your emotions and how you process feelings. If I pushed you up against a wall, how are you going to come out and react? An Aries moon is going to come out and react bold and fierce, right? And they're going to let you know how they feel. That's an Aries moon. Um, and so when I look at astrology with an Aries moon and I'm having a conversation with someone who has an Aries moon, I'm like, oh, they're just telling me they're feeling deeply. And I can take things less personally as well. So I will say astrology for me is a mirror because I can see my own ways of emotion. If you push a Leo moon up against a wall, she's just going to cry. She's going to be dramatic. She's going to she's going to be creative. She's going to take it in. I'll say she, he, right? They're going to take it in and make it personal. Their grief can be childlike in some ways. Be like, of course, right? So telling someone who has a Leo moon to make their grief smaller is going to not help them heal. To give them space, be like, oh, of course that's how you grieve. You have space to cry. As you know, I went through a month where I just wept. I wept at every little thing. And when I look at astrology in the mirror and I think, oh, that's your Leo moon needed to cry. You haven't cried for a long, long time. So you don't need to fix this. That's how astrology helps me, right? Just gives me permission slips. I will say it that way. You have permission to cry. You have permission to not cry. You have permission to stay in bed. You have permission to rise. Astrology is just permission slips.
What a beautiful way to look at it. And thank you for that explanation. And what I really heard from that to make it even simpler is that knowing someone's chart with your guidance can help them navigate grief in a way that they can actually navigate it instead of just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping it
But
sticks.
that's it. And falling in love with it. Oh, that's why. That makes sense. With that, you can release the pressure to try and be and do anything else and just live in you're complete and whole and beautiful just as you are. And whatever the world projects on you to be different, thanks. You're just trying to keep me safe. What if I'm here to role model whatever it is that you're here to role model, to help others learn, right? Aries, be bold, right? Try.
Bring this back to this idea of navigating grief because you are a grief astrologer. What have you found working with clients that has been the most surprising to either you or them when you bring in their chart to help them navigate grief?
Oh, well, I don't want to say surprising because it's really for me it's the service of having validation and witnessing that all, I will say 100% of my clients come feeling a sense of lack, feeling a sense of imposter, feeling a sense of the gap, the what is missing. And the truth is, what's missing is them. So, for every grief astrology reading, and why people think it's an entertainment, right? Is come and tell me about me is really the entertainment value. Tell me about me. I love to talk about me, says Leo. But the truth is, in a grief astrology reading, it is here, let me introduce you to your beautiful soul so that you may walk alongside yourself on this journey and know yourself intimately and give you the tools to heal.
Doesn't that sound amazing, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked about your inner critic. Thank you for that. I'd love to know a little bit more about your divine guide. And for those of you that aren't familiar with my work, I talk about Trinity within my clients. I feel that every one of us has a shadow queen, an inner critic, and a divine guide. And most often, one is much more prevalent than the other. And most often, it's the inner critic because it's the one that we recognize the most. Deb and I have already spoken about her inner critic. But I would love to know a little bit more about your divine guide and how she has been showing up for you, especially as you navigated into this new area of your work.
Yeah. The divine guide is, I don't know if you want to call her the opposite of the inner critic. She's the one who believes in me. She's the one who knows. She's the one who sees me through the eyes of those who love me best, right? So if you were to interview your best friend, your partner, your lover, your mother, and ask her or him how they see you, that's my divine guide. She sees me only through eyes of love. She believes in me. She knows I can do it. She knows that I'm here for a reason and is cheering me on and is ready to pick me up when I fall. That's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Stand up. You got this. Keep going. That's who she is. She believes in me.
Are you chatting with her more often these days?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I love her. I love her. She also wants to keep me safe for sure. So it's easy to it's easy to confuse your divine guide with your inner critic because your divine guide also asks you to be careful.
What I've noticed though, my divine guide, our divine guides, I believe she speaks softer. Like she's more of a whisper because it's really connected, I believe, to my intuitions, to my highest knowing. And she doesn't need to, she's just very honest, as you've said, very loving, but she doesn't need to speak very loudly.
She's
Typically,
the nudge. She's the nudge.
yeah, absolutely, she's the nudge that you didn't realize you needed. Your
Yeah.
stick is pretty loud. Like, don't go there. Hold, what do you think? What are you doing? What do you think? I don't think so. Come on, back up.
That's it.
And our shadow queen is like, you go for it, baby. You are some kind of badass, right? But I was just curious if your divine guide became louder as you searched for a way to navigate your grief. If you became more in tune to your intuition.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. I guess the thing that I was struggling with is the louder because the divine guide is never loud, right? She's she's not Leo. She doesn't need the stage or showcase. Your divine guide is inward. She asks you to go inward and listen, and trust. That's the other piece, right? The divine guide is never going to tell you. She's always going to ask you.
Things that you've said a couple times now, and I think it comes up a lot in the work that I do is, and I suspect with grief, it will come up a lot, is giving ourselves permission to just slow down. And
Mm,
because we can't go inward with the noise. And that's part of the challenge that I have with my clients, or that my clients have, because I had it, was tuning out all the noise of life, the
mhm.
of getting the kids to school, getting to work on time, doing the job, doing well, be looking good, losing weight, getting in shape. All of that can be very noisy.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it earlier, and I would love you to tell us more about it. This idea of giving ourselves permission to whatever that looks like. So I know you've got some amazing thoughts on this idea of permission. So tell us a little bit about that.
Gosh, permission is something that feels almost, childlike, and perhaps it is, but in its simplicity, permission is really acknowledging what it is you're feeling and the message for it, and then doing it. And, I use rest and know as the big permission slips, because the world feels when you take to your bed that you will stay there for the rest of your life. There is that fear, right? Just get up, go for it. But I think of how nature works. Nature isn't a 100% in bloom. The seed is there in winter, it lies beneath. And so giving yourself permission to say no, to rest, to not get up, to actually fall down, just lay and let the ground, let earth, let gravity hold you. No, I don't want to go out tonight. No, I don't want to rise today. No, I'm going to stay here and nurture so that I may bloom. And when people get up, there's the other piece. When people, in grief, there is that moment where, when the cut happens, it's like, wow. And then there's a time, when it heals over and the scab is there. I'm sorry for this terrible analogy, right? The scab is there, but when you bump it, it will bleed again, right? It doesn't mean that the wound is as bad as it was before, but that is part of the healing. So grief is a spiral. All emotions are a spiral. So permission slips are really just feel what you feel. They're not going to last forever. And if you feel like taking to your bed, if you feel like having a bath, if you feel like dancing, if you feel like dating again, if you feel like changing your job, if you feel like not going to the family dinner, all of those are appropriate responses, and you have permission to do so. And the fear people have is if you say no once, you'll say no every time. And that's not the truth. Don't write the story for the future. Be in the present and acknowledge your feelings for right now and do it because that will be healing.
Wow, so much juiciness here. And the feeling that I'm getting is that the lessons here, we've been talking about it through the lens of how to navigate grief. But honest to God, Deb, what you're saying, these are lessons for life. It sounds like to me, it's just lessons for life, right? I mean, hopefully we don't always go through grieving processes, like because there's a heaviness and it's a journey, as you've said earlier, and all of our journeys are different. But the things that you're talking about are like, damn, that's good. Like that's everyday wisdom, it seems like. Not just grief.
Well, I'm going to challenge you to reframe grief because you say you started with, I haven't had grief.
A deep
And
Great.
a deep grief. However, there is no hierarchy in grief. If you have felt pain, if you have felt loss, if you have felt a change, that's grief. And so, there is no invisible measuring stick for what pain is. You have felt pain at a 10 before in your life. I can guarantee you have, as everybody has. And that's grief.
And that's so interesting. And thank you for calling me out. I love conversations like this. But here's the thing, just like with other conversations I've had and we have as a collective, it highlights the need for conversation and discussion and learning, because that's how we learn, and that's how we can experience something a little bit different. And on the surface, it seems pretty simple to say, look, if it's not working, change it. Right? Life's not working, change it. And I just want to scream when people say that, because I'm like, you have a fucking idea how hard that is? Like, what do you even mean by that? So I love this call out that we may be starting from a very big misunderstanding on the definition of grief. So thank you for that.
Yeah, grief's not the problem. The pain is.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Because that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Grief's not the problem. The pain is. I actually have a theory that grief is actually precious. Grief is a very precious emotion, and we should treat it like we're holding this beautiful bird in our hands. Because I say grief is precious because try to take grief away from someone and they won't. They will hold it dear, right? With all of the advice of how to move on, how to stand up. What if instead we treated our pain or grief as precious? It has a message for you. Something or someone very important to you is lost. Let's sit. Let's talk about the pain. And if your pain is a 10, it's a 10. There's no need for me to try to reduce it for you because your pain is a 10. The only way to reduce your pain is to sit with it, walk alongside it, talk with it.
Get to know it.
Get to know it. Guess what? It's coming with you.
Yeah.
Whether or not you acknowledge it, right? It's coming with.
That's beautiful. Okay, Deb, how can our listeners learn more about you? How can they reach out to you, connect with you, find out more about the work that you do?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm on Pinterest and I'm also on Facebook, and debrawhite.ca is my website. You can look for me and find me. I talk a lot about walking alongside your grief in all of those places.
So beautiful. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us today on The Art of Badassery. You are one of my heroes. And I'm so excited for the world to experience this beautiful level of healing.
Yeah. Well, if you go to my website, you will see that I do have a course that is all around the permission slips that we talked about, right? So there is the permission slips, which is your grief, your timeline, your way. And if you're interested in walking alongside grief a little bit more, there is Grief Alchemy, which is the grief course that I have, where it brings in a really light astrological bent, where it shows you the elements and how the elements can help you with your pain.
So good. Guys, check the show notes. Share this episode with anyone that you think would benefit from our conversation, and give us some feedback. We'd love to know what really resonated with you. My name is Mahara. Thanks to my guest, Debra White, grief astrologist. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time on The Art of Badassery. If this episode lit a fire in your soul or smacked you with some needed truth, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, and share it with another badass who's ready to rise. And if you're done second-guessing your intuition and want some clarity that cuts through the noise, book your free intuitive strategy reading with me now. No fluff, I promise, no BS, just soul-deep insight to help you move forward with power. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and for the love of God, stay badass.